is part 7 of the 802 Cable Hat Knit Along video series. So you have completed all the hard work in your hat. You have done the 802 cable. What remains in this part 7 of the video series is the decreasing. That is how we get from this cable up to the top of the center of the hat. The way I've set it up actually does this lovely quartered cross. So you're going to decrease down the seed moss stitch area to a single stitch that you follow up to the center, and it creates almost a little 4-petaled flower or a quartered cross to the center. That will be part 7 of the series. Part 8 of the video series will be this little Celtic knot, Trinity Knot topper, if you are so inclined to do that. And we'll talk about alternatives. You can either just finish the top of the hat off flat, or you can add a pom-pom if you prefer, or a tassel. I'm a big fan of tassels, and we'll talk about those alternative ways of finishing off the hat in part 8. In part 9 will be our final video of the series, and I'll talk about some sizing and customization options for you. By that point, you will have finished your first hat, and if you find that it's too big, too small, or you want to gift one to someone who has a larger or smaller head, we'll talk about those sizing options, and just wrap up what we've done here in this knit along. So, moving on to the decreases. You are in your pattern on page 6 in the section that says, oops, I'm on the wrong side here, that says decrease to the top of the hat. So that's starting at row 41, and it's row 41 through 53. So for row 41, you are going to knit exactly as you did for row 40. That is, you're going to stay in your seed moss stitch pattern, and then you're just going to knit that one vertical frame stitch, purl 12 across, knit the one, and then do the 3 stitches remaining in that seed moss stitch on the far end. So that row 40, the first row of the decrease is row 41 rather, the first row of the decrease is exactly the same with just inverting the seed moss stitches that you did in row 40. So go ahead and do that, and then we will come back down and meet up, and I'll demonstrate row 42 to you. So we're now up to row 42 of the pattern. This is the second row in the decrease section table of the pattern. And so what you've done on the 2 prior rows is 2 stitches in the seed stitch, your vertical knit, the 12 purls across the middle, your vertical knit, and then 3 stitches in the seed stitch. So you have a total of 5 stitches in the seed stitch between that vertical knitted frame and with the purl 12s in the middle. If when you went around to do this last row, to do row 41, you discovered that you had forgotten to do these decreases in the seed stitch, you have 2 options. One is, of course, to frog, that is to rip out and go back and do them on the last line of the cable for the number 8, which is where they are in the pattern. But I will note that frogging where you have cabled becomes complicated, and I leave it up to you, but you can just simply catch up by going ahead and doing the decrease row in 42, which is the next row on the pattern, and then adding an extra decrease row, work row 43 as another decrease to catch up. I assure you that no one will notice from a fast-moving horse at the end of the driveway, which is often the test for whether or not you should rip out. But I do leave it to you. It will create a slightly steeper decrease pattern at the top. But the difference in being 1 row off in where you work those decreases is certainly not fatal to the shaping of the hat. But let's assume that we all went along and did the decreases where indicated, and so that the last row that you did, row 41, had 2 seed stitches, the vertical knit, purl 12, the vertical knit, and then 3 additional seed stitches. So now you're going to drop those seed stitches down 1 more, so that you're at the end of this row, you're just going to have 1 seed stitch, the vertical, your purl 12, the vertical, and then 2 seed stitches left on this side. So you're going from 5 seed stitches per round down to 2. So you are going to, let's see, we are up to a purl 1 for the first seed stitch, and then you're going to knit 2 together knitwise. That makes that line lean to the right. Go ahead and purl your 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And now you're going to decrease on the other side. Now, the instructions do say to slip 1 stitch, knit 1, and then pass the slip stitch over. You can, of course, feel free to make this decrease in whatever way you are comfortable and familiar with. What I didn't note is I like to slip this purlwise, knit the next stitch, and then pass the slip stitch over, because then the centers of those stitches line up. The knit stitch continues to present itself in the same fashion without being twisted in that line. And then go ahead and purl and knit. So you'll do that all the way around the hat. Again, when you've done that, what you've done is you now have just 3, 1, 2, 3 seed stitches left. And then what you're going to do is work up 2 more rows, rows 43 and 44, in exactly the same fashion as, basically as a rest row. You're going to work the seed stitches by doing your knitting in the purls and purling in the knit. And you're going to knit these 2 vertical frame stitches and purl across the 12, so that it's effectively a rest row for rows 43 and 44. So go ahead and do that through 44, and I'll catch up with you and demonstrate row 45. Now you are up to row 45 of the pattern. So a couple of things to know. One is that from here on out, the decreases go fast, which means knitting the hat gets faster and faster because each row that you knit is going to be considerably smaller. So on this row, what you're going to do is knit those 3 seed stitches together. You're going to combine those 3 seed stitches into 1, and you're also going to take the first decrease of the purl stitches by purling 2 together in the middle of that purl row. So let me show you how we've done that. As you start row 45, my suggestion to you is to slip the first stitch of that row onto the prior needle. If you're on a circular needle, you'll just slip it to the right hand side. But if you're knitting on 3 or 4 double pointed needles, just slip that to the needle to your right, because you are going to then be knitting those 3 stitches together. So it's just handy to have them on the same needle. And there's no need to start with that stitch, since you're going to be slipping it at the end, or you're going to be combining it with the other 2 stitches at the end. So then what you're going to do is knit 1. You're going to purl 5. 1, 2, 3. Oops, missed that one. 3, 4, 5. Then you're going to purl 2 together and purl the other 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're going to knit that vertical knit stitch. And then you're going to slip these next 2 stitches together knitwise. You can do them one at a time if you prefer. I'm going to slip them together knitwise like that. So you've basically twisted them. You are going to go ahead and purl the next seed stitch. And then you're going to pass those slipped stitches over. And so what you've done is you've created a centered decrease right there. So hopefully that made sense to you. Then remember to pick up your other needle if you were in fact working with double pointed needles. Go through this process. I'll go through this one more time. Knit 1, purl 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, purl 2 together, purl the other 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, knit 1, slip these next 2 stitches knitwise, purl the next stitch, and pass those 2 slipped stitches over. Then go ahead and pick up your other needle if you're working with double pointed needles, and go ahead and continue that around the row. What you're going to do then in the next row, row 46, is you're simply going to knit 1, purl 11, and then knit these last 2 stitches. So again, once you've gotten through this decrease row in row 45, in row 46 you're going to knit 1, purl 11, you only have 11 purl stitches left now, and knit those last 2. So go ahead and do that, knit rows 45 and 46, and I'll catch up to demonstrate row 47. Okay, we are up to row 47, and what you're going to do once again, we're now going to combine the 3 stitches that include the 1 remaining stitch of the seed stitch with the 2 vertical knit frame stitches. We're going to combine those into 1 stitch. So as you did on the last round, I like to slip that first stitch over. And here we're also going to do another decrease on the purl stitches, and that is also going to be a centered triple decrease. We're going to decrease 2 stitches or make 3 stitches go into 1. So you're going to purl 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you're going to slip 2 stitches. And I do these knitwise. Again, you're free to do a centered decrease in another method if you know how, if you've got one you prefer. Slip 2 knitwise, purl 1, and pass the 2 slipped stitches over. Now that does create a knit stitch in the center of your purls, and to me that gives you then a guide for the remaining decreases. Then you're going to go ahead and purl the remaining 4. Slip 2 knitwise, go ahead and knit that first stitch from the next needle and pass those 2 slipped stitches over. So now what you have done is you have decreased these purl stitches down to 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 purl stitches, followed by 1 knit stitch. So you're going to go ahead around the row and do that. You're going to decrease the 3 seed moss stitches into 1 stitch, and you're going to decrease the 3 centered purl stitches into 1 stitch, leaving you with 9 purls and 1 knit all the way around the row. And then on the next row, row 48, all you're going to do is purl 9, knit 1, all the way around the row. So go ahead and do that, and we'll come back and join on row 49. So you have completed row 48, which was simply purl 9, knit 1, purl 9, knit 1 around the row. And so that's what we've got left. We're going to maintain this vertical knit stitch for another additional couple of rows to the top of the hat. And that gives us this lovely sort of floral pattern or crossed pattern of bringing in those knit lines to the center of the hat. So what you're going to do in this next row, this is another sharp decrease row, row 49. is you are going to quite extensively decrease this purl setup here. So from 9 stitches, you are going to go down to 5. You are going to purl 2 together, purl 2 together, and then just purl that center stitch all by itself, purl 2 together, purl 2 together, and knit that last knit stitch to maintain that vertical row. So you've purled 2 together, purl 2 together, purl 1, purl 2 together, purl 2 together, purl 1. That leaves you with 5 purl stitches and 1 knit. So you go ahead and do that steep decrease row with the purl 2 togethers all the way around the hat for row 49. And then for row 50, you'll simply purl 5, knit 1 all the way around. So go ahead and do that, and I'll meet back up with you on row 51. You are now up to row 51, so you completed row 50, which was just purl 5, knit 1. So you're down to, if you're knitting with the 4 needles as I am, you've got 6 stitches on each needle. If you are knitting circular, you've got a total of 24 stitches left on your needles. And this is the last steep decrease row of the purls, and after that you are effectively done, and you'll be effectively done with maintaining that knit stitch center. So what you're going to do is, once again, purl 2 together, purl 1, purl 2 together, and knit 1. So when you are done this, you're going to have 4 stitches on each needle if you're doing it in 4, or you'll have 16 stitches total left. Purl 2 together, purl 1, purl 2 together, and knit 1. So if you remember to knit 1, you're still maintaining that vertical line that came off of those seed moss stitches. So when you're done this round, you'll have 4 stitches in that pattern, 3 purls, and a knit. But there's no more rest rows. The next round, you'll simply, after this, row 52, you will knit 2 together on each needle to bring you down to 2 stitches. So complete row 51, which is purl 2 together, purl 1, purl 2 together, and then knit 1. Purl 2 together, purl 1, purl 2 together, knit 1, leaving you with 4 stitches in the pattern. Go ahead and complete that all around, and then I will join you on row 52. So you've completed row 51 all around the hat. You've purled 2 together, purl 1, purl 2 together, knit 1, so you have 3 purls and a knit. That completes your hard work of the Aran knitting on this pattern, or the pattern knitting on this cable hat pattern. And what you're going to do from here is simply knit 2 together all around the entire rim of the hat. Knit 2 together, 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 knit 2 together. You're getting the gist of this, huh? I'm repeating myself here. What will take you right to the top of the hat. Knit 2 together, and knit 2 together. So there is now a grand total of 8 stitches left on the hat, and we're ready to come back and finish the hat off. Either finish it plain, you can see that lovely cross pattern that's been formed by those decreases, and we'll come back in video 8, part 8 of this 802 cable hat knit along video series, and talk about different ways to finish off the hat and I will walk you through and demonstrate this little Celtic knot topper if you would like to add that to your hat.